The ship is about to sail, the flight is about to take off.
In-depth analysis of national current affairs. Freshly pressed.
All right, mic's up. Studio is live. Good morning, Lagos. Thank you very much for staying tuned here on Smooth 98.1. I'm Ayo Mairo Ese.
And I'm Valentine Ohu.
And together we're going to be moderating this morning's Freshly Pressed 981. To join us to analyze our news stories for this morning, we have Uade. Good morning, Uade.
Good morning, Ayo. Good morning, Valentine.
Good morning.
Lagos.
Uade is at Reinc Nigeria on Twitter. And we also have Cheta here with us. Good morning, Cheta.
Good morning, everyone.
Cheta is at Checkster on Twitter. All right, if you'd like to join the conversation this morning, you can do so via our various platforms.
You can send us messages through Twitter at Smooth981FM. The hashtag is freshly pressed 981. On WhatsApp, our number for messages is 0809 444 0981. That's 0809 444 0981. We're streaming live on YouTube. You can subscribe and also leave a message on that platform.
All right, thank you very much. Cheta, I'll come to you for the first story. It's an update on Ruga. We've been talking about this. It's not news to a number of Nigerians, but we have reports from Punch newspaper that the National Economic Council will soon meet on the National Livestock Transformation Plan. So according to this report, the NLTP, that's the transformational plan, was approved by the NEC and the federal government last year. It is a voluntary program. We've talked about this. It's aimed at rehabilitating internally displaced persons and developing ranches in any willing states of the federation. Now, when the Ruga settlement issue came up, a number of people referred to the NLTP program, asking that why are we not looking at that? Why introduce a new project? So please, can you take us through this story?
I think that the whole Ruga thing is dead. Whether this is just an attempt to kick a dead horse.
Okay.
The big problem here is that the actions of the government have poisoned the atmosphere and generated a lot of mistrust. So according to the story in the Punch, Laolu Akonde, the senior special assistant, title, said that interested states and the federal government are still discussing the National Livestock Transformation Plan. And the question becomes, who are the interested states?
Yes.
Especially given that when the Ruga thing broke, every governor south of the Niger-Benue line, with the exception of Ben Ayade in Cross River State and Jide Sanwo-Olu in Lagos, publicly dissociated themselves from even Laolu himself. Dissociated himself and his boss from Ruga on Twitter. Now, as far as I know, even north of the Niger-Benue line, only Zamfara and Bauchi have allocated land under the Ruga scheme. Kano, more than a year ago, invited herders to come to their states. As far as I know, that invitation has not yet been taken. And herein lies the problem. The government's own actions have created mistrust. The consultation for the National Livestock Transformation Plan was done openly and deeply, and input was made by various interest groups, various states, and the decision was accepted. Then suddenly somebody somewhere came up with Ruga, just under the table, and began to do things, began to try to push it through. So that was why we had this blowback. Now, this hush-hush matter, this hush-hush way of doing things, and the fact that killings have escalated, I think it's lazy to blame most of the killings on Fulani people.
Yeah.
But Nigeria has a history of collective guilt. Once one person, if for example, I reach out and slap you now, they will say, "Hey, that's how Igbo people are." So again, that we have become it has become a culture in this country.
Yes.
So nobody should be surprised that a few Fulani people have killed people and suddenly everybody is saying Fulani. The fact that the killings have escalated, the hush-hush manner in which the government is going about it, rather than doing it openly. I mean, only yesterday, one of the vice presidents of the All Farmers Association of Nigeria accused the federal government of dumping the whole idea of ranching and the National Livestock Transformation Plan
Yeah.
in favor of Ruga.
Mm.
Don't forget that the All Farmers Association of Nigeria was one of those groups that was involved in the consultation for the National Livestock Transformation Plan.
Plan, yeah.
So if one of their vice presidents is saying this, you can imagine how they feel about it. Then there's the issue of Ruga itself. Ruga is a Hausa word meaning Fulani settlements.
Okay.
When that came out, people, as in on social media, people, not even on social, even I think I saw one interview on channels, or was it AIT? I don't, where somebody denied, no, it's not. It means rural grazing area. Only for people to now bring out a book, 1924, Notes on the Bororo Fulbe, where Ruga is clearly stated. You know, these little things end up poisoning the well, making the mistrust grow, and instead of us to face the real issue, we'll be there busy shouting Ruga. You know, so basically, I think the NLTP,
Yes.
solid idea,
Mm-hmm.
but the government, the very government that came up with the idea and had self-sabotage this.
All right.
Because people within the government cannot hold their horses.
So, quick question for you: do you think that despite the poisoning that you've mentioned with regards to the Ruga settlement and the way it was handled, do you think people will still embrace or resist the NLTP?
Like I said, I sincerely doubt, because I started this by saying that it's completely poisoned.
Poisoned. All right. Thank you.
Cheta, let's quickly link it to this story from the Vanguard newspaper, where Balarabe Musa, who was governor of Kaduna State during the Second Republic, and Femi Falana, a human rights lawyer, advising people, advising Nigeria, saying that ethnic profiling of criminals may lead Nigeria into anarchy. In this story, they sort of, reminded the presidency of Obasanjo's open letter, where they said Balarabe Musa made a statement saying that the appropriate response to these sectional voices is not to glibly question the patriotism of any person or group, saying in response to flourishing crimes in the face of worrisome incompetence in the state, ethnic and regional champions have resorted into the dangerous ethnic profiling and demonization of others. Your thoughts on this story, please?
Again, it's what I have been saying. Funny enough, I actually wrote an entire piece about this on Saturday, and the week before, my column in the Guardian, that was precisely what I was talking about. So permit me, I know that we have a problem of time, but let me tell two stories.
Okay.
In
Very
1940, I'll
quick.
try and summarize.
Thank
In
you.
1944, a guy called Helmut Kampfe was killed in a village called Urador Mane. His fellow German officers went mistakenly to a similarly named village, Urador Sioglain, and then killed everybody. They blamed the village for killing their guy, and then killed everybody in the wrong village. That is what ethnic profiling does. We have history of that. In 1966, a guy called Kaduna Ohu, who, for the record, spoke Hausa as a first language, second language English, third language Igbo, he happened to murder the Sardauna of Sokoto. All Igbo people were blamed, and we all know what happens after. So blaming an entire ethnic group for the conduct of some miscreants is bad. However, and this is what I'll keep saying, two things. Number one, we've made it a culture in this country. Once one person does something, everybody around that person is starred with the same brush. Everybody from the person's group. One. Number two, this is what has made this particular incident worse, is the president himself has handled this thing. In short, to say he has handled it poorly is to flatter poorly. He has handled it abysmally. As in, people are now bringing up the fact that in 2001, when there was a fight between Yoruba people and Fulani guys, that the president led a delegation to meet Lam Adesina, the former governor of Oyo State, to say, why are your people killing my people? The man who is now president. People are now remembering that he did not say anything when massacres happened in Agatu, when massacres happened in Ukwabi Nimbo. And then, suddenly, when there was a thief in Modakeke, Minister of Interior was there. People are remembering all these things and are saying, people are remembering that when there was real problem in Benue. And then Benue people went to complain to him. He said, accommodate your countrymen.
All right.
So when you have all of those things, people, it's it gives the impression that one set of animals are more equal than another set of animals, and as a result, people decide to do what they
And also
want to do.
highlighting the fear that some mischievous folk would hijack it for their own
Yes.
personal selfish gains.
The point I'm making is that President Buhari has given the mischievous folk every latitude to do what they want to do.
All right. Thank you very much. Please let's know your thoughts on this as well, because
Snap.
we are all, when it comes to ethnic profiling, it's you and I in quotes,
guilty of
yes,
it.
who are guilty of it. So tell us your opinion as
Samuel
well.
from Lekki says everyone is afraid of Ruga in general because herdsmen have been accused of hostile behaviors. The Meiti Allah, the umbrella body of the herders, have repeatedly threatened the country, given ultimatum, and not even a warning was given to them by the same government that wants to give them free land and a radio station. Why shouldn't we be afraid?
Well, it's important to point out that Mieti Allah so Mieti Allah Cattle Breeders Association of Nigeria was formed in 1986. Then about 4 or 5 years ago, it fractured, and then we now have Mieti Allah Kauta Hore. Mieti Allah Kauta Hore are the ones who keep making the incendiary statements.
There's a faction of Meiti Allah group.
Faction is not even the right word. It's kind of like comparing Ohanese and IPOB.
I see.
But here's again, we bring us back to that thing. When IPOB will say something, immediately the weight of the state comes down on them. But Mieti Allah Counter Horror, I got to happen. They took responsibility. Probably happened. They took responsibility. All of these things happened, and nothing has happened to them. It poisons the atmosphere.
Thank you very much indeed. Let's move on to our next story. Uade, I'll come to you for this. NAMA splits Lagos Airspace Control Center to boost services. Guardian has the report that the Nigerian Airspace Management Agency has successfully split the Lagos Subflight Information Region airspace into 2 sectors as part of a move to enhance air travel. Can you please take us through these details?
This is for me is a welcome development because of all the things that you have to go through most times when you're trying to land in Lagos at particular times. With 2 frequencies there, I believe that NAMA will be better able to manage air traffic control and probably reduce the incidence of planes having to move around waiting for clearances and all. And with the fact that I think the second runway in Lagos is now functional, so it makes it much easier for planes to come in and go, and probably improve the timing and the timing for how planes come in and how planes fly out of Nigeria. So I think really it's a welcome development. It's long overdue, and let's hope it would improve the services at the airport.
Thank you very much. We don't know if this is a direct or indirect response to a Guardian report recently that said that safe travel in Nigeria's airspace was in jeopardy despite efforts by the government to improve navigation infrastructure. I think you would remember that story that we talked about.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Thank you very much indeed. Let me stay with you, Uade, for this. And the Independent Corrupt Practices Commission and other related offences, the chairman has said that 2 trillion naira has been spent on constituency projects without results. So the project without commensurate development at the grassroots. We have money accounted for, as I don't think it's a surprise, but when we look at the evidence of where the money has been spent, it's not worth the amount that is being said was spent. Please take us through this report.
The spokesperson for the chairman of the Independent Corrupt Practices Office, another related officers commission, actually said that that about 2 trillion has been spent, and the commission is monitoring projects in about 12 states. And this was at the investiture of the newly qualified members of the Nigerian Institute of Quantity Surveyors in Abuja. So what he's saying, he says this monitoring process is yielding results as some of the contractors are going back onto their projects. But the question here really is, when did they start this? Why haven't they done this for? These are projects that constituency projects have been in our corridors for the last 19 years, since 2000. And if 2 trillion has been spent over the years, what's the where is the value that we are seeing?
Yes.
Where these projects, where have they reached? Is
Yes.
it monies that have just gone down the drain?
What's the impact
And
on the grassroots? I
exactly.
believe another question that I would like to ask as well is that with the constituency projects tracking group initiative, once these, once some of these politicians are found wanting, what will be the consequence? Is it
Exactly.
just to find out that they didn't spend the money well, or what, or they spent it fraudulently? What will then be the consequence of their actions?
Well, I think with the ICPC monitoring now, maybe they will start to bring more of these contractors and politicians who haven't done the right thing to book and put them through the process of the ICPC um, investigation, and if necessary, try them for found wanting in all these areas.
Thank you. I think I don't know. Another big question is: do we have contractors in Nigeria that are blacklisted for in terms of cases like this, where they're contracted to carry out a project? And
Now it gives you an opportunity to start looking at the contractors that you can blacklist.
okay,
So if they don't perform based on the contracts that have been put in place,
yes,
then technically, if you go through the process of the ICPC and you are found wanting, then
yeah,
you should be able to blacklist
blacklist them.
those contractors.
All right. Thank you very much, Cheta. Let me come to you for this next one, but I think we'll take some comments before
Yes.
we proceed.
Very quickly, Kenny from Lagos says everyone has forgotten that there are farmers and communities in Benue State. They are still living in IDP camps within their own states. The National Livestock Transformation Plan included payments for compensation for them. Has this been done? Have they been relocated to their homes?
Great question.
Emeka sent in this one from Ojo. It says, Cheta, well done. You just taught me the history of 1944. Furuchi says, Cheta, your in-depth knowledge and analysis second to none. My simple prayer. Okay, thank you very much.
All right,
for this
thank
one.
you. I'm sure Cheta has received your
And Real
compliment.
One says, Cheta, you are spot on. Federal government should take a proactive measure to curb the security challenges. For how long are we going to continue like this?
Thank you very much for your comments. Let's go on to our next story. Cheta, let me come to you for this Koza rape scandal. Premium Times has this news report. Our lives are in danger, says Timi Dakolo. He cries out saying that. Now, a number of us might have watched the press conference. Cheta, I don't know if you watched it.
I was doing some work.
All right. Okay. So you didn't see it. Well, he gave a press conference with the director of EIE, Enough is Enough Nigeria, Yemi Adamolekun, and celebrity humanitarian Kate Henshaw. He talked about what his family had gone through in the, since the alleged allegation against the pastor of Koza, Biodun Fatoyinbo. Can you please take us through this story?
There's really nothing for me to add to the allegation itself. I mean, that was 3 weeks ago, thereabouts, and I'm sure I wasn't around, but I'm sure it was killed both here and on Grapevine.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but here's the only thing that I can really say is this: the proof. This thing that is happening with Timi Dakolo and his wife is your final proof that law enforcement in Nigeria is an entrepreneurial activity. Pastor Fatoyinbo can pay for security, and we are seeing that. Can pay for the services of the security services of security agencies, and we are seeing that.
But why do you say that he's paid for them? Because he has a right as a Nigerian citizen to engage the services.
Let me finish that.
All right, please go on.
Now, first things first, the rape allegation, the incident happened almost 20 years ago. So that makes it impossible to prove. That's the first issue. However, we must remember Ese Walters and a host of other women who have made allegations against this same Fatoyinbo.
Ese Walters didn't say he.
She didn't say he
Yes,
raped her.
they
She
had
said
a
they
consensual
had an
affair. Yes.
But the point is, it is the same pattern
Okay.
in terms of his defense. He would obliquely reference the allegation or what has been said, and then suddenly he gets security cover. He gets his followers start attacking people and all of that. The one that worries me is the security cover. He's essentially using his power, his accumulated power, to intimidate. It's the same thing playing out here. The Sunday after the interview, some people said they were going to his church to protest. Members of the Nigerian Navy's elite special boat service were dispatched to protect his Koza. Mbano, you can't. That's somebody paid for that. And if we were a country, we are not. if we're a country, somebody would have. The SBS is the it's like deploying Delta Force to protect Chris Copeland in the US. It will never happen. Imagine deploying the SAS to protect some Nkorocha pastor in one corner of East London. Never. If it happens, then somebody will go to prison for that.
All right.
This is abuse of power. Then this Timi Dakolo thing, members of it wasn't just the police, the Special Tactical Squad Force HQ Abuja were the ones who were sent to Timi Dakolo's house.
But,
and then you think we're in a country.
And then he said he filed a report here in Lagos. So I'm trying to understand how you file a case here in Lagos and then it's being treated
the use of specially trained people. SBS, they send them to Russia and all other countries. I have attended one of their training sessions. It is intense. And all the people in the training session were foreign instructors. These are people that you're now sending them to come and line up in front of pastor. Haba!
Thank you very much, Cheta.
Quick message here. This one is from, what's your name, please? Add your names to your messages so we can take them. All right. This one's, oh boy. Okay, keep your messages coming into WhatsApp. We're seeing very interesting messages that are just speaking to peculiar issues. Inyobong says, good morning. Nigeria is playing out George Orwell, Animal Farm. It's not enough for Mr. President to say he belongs to one, and yet his actions show that he's taking sides with one ethnic group before being Nigerian. It's a case of mutiny in Burin, just waiting to explode. We should have privately run ranches, and cattle should be transported to those ranches using special trucks. Herders should just pay for the use of their ranches, etc. All right, next story here from the New Telegraph. I'll come to you, Uade, for your analysis on this story. Lagos to rehabilitate 100 roads to curb gridlock. So the governor, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, yesterday revealed that about 100 roads have been targeted for rehabilitation in the first phase of the ongoing road rehabilitation project that is being taken on. But your thoughts on this story, seeing that they're working day and night according to his plan?
Valentine,
Yes, please.
you know, the irony of it is that the levels of governance across Nigeria has continued to go down. Why?
Why do you say that?
Why is this big news? Government's work is to build roads and maintain roads. If the roads are bad, fix them. Whether they are working day and night is not the issue. That's what you're meant to do. So you coming and telling us that the people are working day and night and you are going to rehabilitate 100 roads to stop gridlock. Go ahead and fix those roads and let's wake up in the morning and drive and there's no gridlock. First thing, that's one. Also, when you look at the story, they said some of the contractors had left site. Why? Government is a continuum. If I have a contract with you and the agreements are clearly signed, then you should be on site.
Then shouldn't there be consequences for those contractors
Exactly.
who have not made up with the
Who have not made up with
the agreements?
Exactly. So what are you doing? You're saying, no, we've spoken to them and they are coming back onto site. So it's, for me, it just goes to tell me that what government is meant to do, they are not doing it. Instead, they are turning it to tell me that I'm working so hard.
But if they don't tell you, won't you complain still?
Valentine,
If you are doing your work,
if you are doing your work, nobody is going to. Exactly. I will wake up in the morning and I will see there is no gridlock and the roads are fine.
Emeka Onelum on YouTube says, I would like to thank and commend the Lagos state government for fixing the huge potholes in Okiafa in Solo. This has brought a huge relief to motorists in that area, though more work needs to be done.
Ayo, they should stop thanking these people. They're doing their jobs. Let them do their work. They should stop thanking government.
Perhaps we should also consider if there are plans to, in terms of road rehabilitation, maybe knock off certain buildings that are on the right of way, or they're on the encroaching on the roads or the plan of the roads. Maybe they should be aware that these roads have been marked for reconstruction work, and maybe they could either destroy the properties or move them, just like the case of the kiosks and the illegitimate structures that were erected on Lagos Badagry Expressway.
And I agree with you, but what you need to do, there are proper laws for how many meters you should be close to the roads.
Yes, but we see regularly people
when we see these things.
Laws.
Yes, so there must be consequences for people who flout laws. And once you continue to put those consequences in place, people will realize that they shouldn't do this thing.
All right.
Thanks. Huh?
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much, Wadi. Our next story is talking about the Medical Association, Nigerian Medical Association. They are speaking up and saying that 40% of Nigerian doctors in the country are jobless. We've come from a case of brain drain, medical doctors moving abroad to seek greener pastures. But this case, the Nigerian Medical Association, they've expressed concern that the deplorable health situation in the country is increasing as more doctors are still going without jobs, that especially give an example to newly graduated doctors that after NYC, some of them still stay up to 2 years or beyond without a job. Cheta, your thoughts on this?
I don't know what is doing the enemy. What is Nigeria's unemployment rates officially? 23.1%. What is Nigeria's underemployment rates? People who work less than 20 hours a week. 20.1%. 23.1% plus 20.1, 43.1%, 43.2%. So the doctors are as unemployed as the rest of the population. I don't know why.
But how's this good? I mean,
Did I say it's good?
no, I sense that it's sarcasm, yes, but
I didn't say it's good. I just said that they are complaining when everybody's in the same boat. So it's kind of like people who are shouting that Super Eagles didn't do well in Nations Cup. The country is bad, and you expect the national team to be good. It doesn't work that way. Anyway, it shouldn't surprise anyone. Let's be serious now. Nigeria has 395 doctors per million people, as per the World Health Organization reports. That is 1% of the World Health Organization's recommendation, where you should have about 40,000 doctors per million people.
yes.
As per the last census of health facilities in the country, we have 5 hospital beds per 10,000 people and 23,640 public and private hospitals in the country. So even if we are to speed up enough doctors, they won't, in terms of training, there's not enough health facilities in the country to employ them. So it's a multifaceted problem, and it's again the same thing of money no deal. So training is going down because there's lack of training. There's a lack of skilled doctors for the population, and then because there's a lack of infrastructure and lack of funding to build infrastructure, there's a lack of, even for the little few doctors that we have, there's a lack of opportunity for them. We're not serious, and all of these numbers just show it everybody glaringly for everybody to see that we're not serious.
Thank you, Cheta.
Thank you. All right. Ace from Argos says contractors that have been blacklisted, LOL. All it takes is a political leader to forgive them and bring them back to work. Just like politicians with glaring crimes and allegations are made senators, ministers, ambassadors, even while they have cases in court. Then Kule from Lekki says the medical doctors, welcome to Nigeria. We are here together for better or worse.
And we have more messages. Justin in VI says, Cheta is absolutely spot on. There is a solution in every problem. The president has refused to take the bull by the horns, so do the right thing and issues will be settled. Okay, we have this one from Cheryl. Cheryl says, the Lagos State government pours black paint on the road and they say they're fixed. The potholes will reappear in the exact same spots in 2 months.
They've learned from Russians.
All right, and then Tokwe from Sulere says he agrees with Cheta that it's wrong to profile people by their groups, but the reality is that some people from certain groups have consistently behaved in a particular pattern to earn some of the tags they have.
All right, quick story here. Let's touch on it, just the means of mention. ABCON, that's the Association of Bureau de Change Operators in Nigeria, they've called for the elimination of fuel and foreign exchange subsidies in order to address structural defects in the economy. Your thoughts on this, Wadi?
I won't say much on this. This sounds like a broken record because this is what we have been saying for the last
yeah, I understand the pessimism, but then looking through the structure that they've planned and suggesting to the government in terms of revenue generation and just to make it an equal playing field for all the operators, your thoughts?
There was equal playing fields for what when they merged the what is called foreign exchange markets some years back. All of a sudden the fields are no longer equal. So really just go back to where we were and then take out subsidies from this thing.
If you say take out subsidies, with that it sounds like a sweeping generalization because there are fears in the financial experts have said that CBN's plans to probably make the foreign exchange equal regarding the naira in the coming years is going to crash the value of the currency. So that's That's a real fear. That's a real problem that might happen if they go forward with it.
Valentine, the value of the currency has been crashing for the last 4 years.
Obviously.
That's one. Two, the incentives to continually fight and make the currency stable really is not helping. If you need to devalue and let the country rebuild, and that's it, and start putting in policies that would help the
We need to
um
build this currency.
yeah.
We'll run
We
from
should
this
stop
thing.
it.
It will de-weight us for France.
All right. Thank you so much. Unfortunately, our time is fast spent, but we want to give a big thanks to our analysts for such a great job this morning. Thanks, Uade at We Inc. Nigeria. And thank you, Cheta at Checksta, that's CHXTA. Someone asked for your Twitter handles. You can follow us at Smooth91 FM, and through that platform, you can find out the handles of our other analysts as well. In a few minutes, Tega will be joining us here for Sports in the Locker Room 981. Good morning.
The headlines, the stories,
They are called people
Thank
now.
you.
The money that they used to make.
Finished at 8
I
o'clock
said,
today.
the money that they used to make when there was level playing field,
Oh,
everything is going to the bank. That's why they are complaining.
that's how
Of course, I know. When the playing field was not level, you mean?
And when the playing field was not level.
No, I know. I know that's why. they're
Now that the
complaining.
banks are the ones that are making most of the money, they are
The
complaining.
thing is, again, what's meant? See, reality is biting. What many of them don't realize is that people are learning that it is more convenient to do bank transactions.
sorry.
So even if the playing field is no longer
I'm doing my
level,
work.
unless the difference, the aperture difference is so much,
That's it.
which we are not going to go back there again.
No.
So you get, as much as they would want it, we are not going to go back there. Thankfully.
So that's why they are complaining. When they used to